He says, did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites. He was making a wrong supposition based on the current circumstances. And the Lord turned to him and said, go in this might of yours, and you shall save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have not I sent you? And then he said, oh my Lord, how can I save Israel? Indeed, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. Now, you see, here's inadequacy. He said, I come from the weakest tribe, the smallest tribe, and I'm the baby in the family. What does that have to time? Okay, so you go into the birth order argument now, because I'm the baby in the family. So that's why he can't do it. But he says, it has nothing to do with those circumstances. God began to speak to him about his potential. He's saying, mighty man of valor. Now listen, he's scared to death. And God is calling him man of courage. Man of courage. Gideon is scared to death. He's got an assignment. He says, you know, Lord, really? I mean, if you were with us, I mean, why didn't you really send some deliverer? God said, I sent you. You know, it tickles me the way that people pray. You know, I used to hear my deacons in my church used to pull a chair out in the middle of the floor. And anybody remember those kind of meetings in the front of the church? And they got that chair out there, and they were praying, oh Lord, go down to the courthouse and go and walk up and down the corridors of the hospital. Oh Lord, I thank you that my sheets last night were not my winding cloth. Y'all don't know anything about that. I'm like, what in the world is a winding cloth? What y'all talking about? But they'd go through all of that. They would be sending God, go down, oh God, to the jailhouse. Sending him to the jail. But no. If God's going to the jail, he's going in us. He's asking us the same thing that he said to Gideon. Have not I sent you? We're trying to send God. We're trying to send the Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost is going in us. He's going in us. He said, what's in your hand? It reminds me of the words of John F. Kennedy. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, you're saying that America's in a mess and everybody's looking to see what the government is going to do. He said, don't ask what we can do for you. Ask what you can do to serve. Ask what you can do. And this is what God is saying. You've got something to give. You're here asking. You're so focused on what you lack that you are blind to what you see. That's why God says, what's in your hand? What's in your hand? What's in your hand? Because we are so busy counting what we don't have that we're blind to what we do have. Every leader has a blind spot. And thank God for his asking this probing question that turned the searchlight of his attention onto what was in Moses' hand. He says, Moses, you got the thing that's in your hand right now for signs and wonders, but it's not going by itself. You've been wanting me to do it. It's going to work through your hands, Moses. It's going to work through your hand. And he says, Gideon, when you go, it was the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. And see, we just want it to be the sword of God. You know, God, go strike them dead. If God's going to conquer some stuff, he's going to conquer through you. He's going to use your hands. He's going to use your mouth. Oh, God, you deal with them. God, you do, God changed this. No. The real intercessor becomes a part of the answer to the prayer. And that's where we come. God says, what's in your hand? What is in your power, in your capacity, in your potential? Once he gets your attention, he talks to you about potential. Attention, potential. After God got Moses' attention, he talked to him about his potential. In Exodus chapter 3, he's talking about attention, setting a bush on fire just to get Moses' attention. Exodus chapter 4, he starts off talking about his potential. What's in your hand? What's in your hand? What's in your hand? So the minute that you start mealy-mouthing, complaining to God, God begins to show you what you have to to be able to use. It's already in your hand, and it will turn into something else, but not until you release it. And that's why he told Moses, what's in your hand? And once he realized what was in his hand, then he told him to turn it loose. When he turned it loose, it became a serpent. And then, if you know anything about reptiles, the wrong way to pick up a snake is by the tail, and have the head come back and put his fangs in your hand. But God wanted him to deal with some fear, because he's like, I got to get fear out of you. And I'm going to speak to you and tell you to do something that is scary to see whether I can trust you. Because you're going to go and you're going to deal with wicked human beings. And they're going to be a piece of cake compared to this snake. And I've got to test you to see whether you will obey me even when you don't understand what I'm talking about. Even if I tell you something that sounds like it's backwards, will you do it? So that's why he was testing Moses' obedience and said, pick it up by the tail. The moment he touched it by the tail, it became rigid, became a rod again, became the staff. But God used that to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt. And it was in Moses' hand the whole time, and he didn't realize it. What's in your hand that you don't even realize the capacity or the power that you have? The experiences that you've been through, what's in your hand?